All right. So this week in class, I learned about using lights as a signal to tell my kids what we're doing. I learned that I'm officially the old black man at the job, and I got a Christmas present from a coworker. So I'll talk about all of this and more this week in class. Oh, you know what? So here's another thing. I'll talk about this first. So you got field trips in school, right? But we also have in-school field trips where basically they'll have an organization or a person or something like that come to the school. It'll basically be an assembly, and then they'll have the kids come. Like in our case, every grade level that was involved went to the cafeteria. So it was Kravis on the road. Kravis is a theater, a local theater and theater company in the area. And they had this origami presentation. So this woman told stories, and she used origami telling the stories. And it was interesting to me that when you teach the lower grade levels, you really kind of get to be a kid again at that level. I think when you do the higher grade levels, the things are a little bit more mature. They might actually be interesting to you on some level as an adult, so it doesn't feel too kiddie. But second grade and down, the things you do, by nature, they have to be really kiddie. And something like that you're not doing, like if you're the teacher and you're teaching the kids and it's really childlike or what have you, well, you're showing them something. So it doesn't necessarily feel like you're in that moment. But being in that assembly, and this is something I'd never seen before, I really felt like I got to experience wonder almost in the same way that a child does, and, of course, we can all be affected by our surroundings. So their joy and excitement can just be infectious, and it's just nice to see them in that way. So that was really interesting. So one thing I've started trying to be intentional about. So I keep my lights low pretty much during the day, right? Because I'm wondering if it's just in my head, but I really think it kind of calms them down. I've heard people talk about just, fluorescent lights and just bright lights, just what it can kind of do to them and their chemistry, in terms of turning them up a notch. So I'm like, well, what if I can turn them down by having less of that? So seems to be working. But what I want to do is not only do I want to keep, keep them calm, but when it's time to not be calm, I try to have the lights on. So when they come in the morning as they're getting ready and doing their morning routine and saying hello to everybody, the lights are on. And then the lights go down when it's time to work, right? So snack time, lights go back up. Recess, if we have inside recess, the lights are up. But then for the rest of the day, the lights go back down. So hopefully I'm kind of programming them to know how to act in certain environments. Because right now already, if I have a slide up, right? I have a slideshow that has a morning slide, it has a goodbye slide, and it has their centers. I think I want to build out that just a little bit more. But when they see the slides, they know what it is they're supposed to do. And it's funny, like I've accidentally bumped the keyboard and it went to the goodbye slide and they're like, is it time to go? No, it's not. And then I use music. So I found this Marvel orchestral suite, and that's what I play at the end of the day. So it's like they're pushing, they're working hard, and as soon as they hear that music, they're like, okay, it's almost time to go home. So I'm trying to put in a lot of these things that kind of trigger the behavior that I want from them. So hopefully it works. So officially, I just realized I'm the old black man at the job. So last week we did a few things just to kind of dress up as teachers, right? Like I think we wore I don't know, we wore funny pants, this, that, the other, whatever. So one day we wore scarves, right? So I was like, okay, well, let me wear a jacket, wear my pants, and put the scarf on top of it, right? So younger black guy at the shop said, hey, man, I like that. And I said, hey, man, I'm just trying to be like you. And I was like, oh, no. Such an old black man thing to say. Hey, man, ain't nothing, man. I'm just trying to get like you. It's like, well, listen, I'm still here, right? So that's a good thing. The alternative to getting old is something else that I maybe don't like just yet. So, hey. The other thing, and nice segue into being an old black man, is I got the kids singing James Brown. So, like I say, I use music, to kind of set the tone for my day. So I've decided to always play Make It Funky in the morning, right? It's like 12 minutes, so it's great. So the kids are walking around singing that. And it's good that I kind of get to explain musical things to them. Like there's this one silly part in the song where James Brown is making nonsense noises, but what he's doing is he's telling the horn player what to play. So he's kind of singing it rhythmically, and then the horn player plays it. And I got to explain that, to one of the kids. So they're getting to the point where that's in their head and they're singing that. So like I enjoy even the idea of introducing them to good music makes me feel good, let me see. Oh, so I got a Christmas present from one of my coworkers, really unexpected. And it was really sweet because she listened to this podcast and she heard some of the things that I said and she grabbed a couple things. And that was just really nice. I tell people, at the job, like I'm a photographer by trade. And I've really kind of been on my own a lot, probably over the past maybe year or two before I took this position as a second grade teacher. So I just haven't had an opportunity to have coworkers to do things for me or to interact with regularly. So that was really nice, so now I got to figure out, okay, let me do some homework, some research, and see what I can do for my coworkers. So that was really sweet. That made my day. Wrapping this up, I actually used my firm, stern teacher voice with one of my good kids. It was kind of funny too. So I'm like, you come here. And she's like looking around like, I know he ain't talking to me because I don't do nothing. I had to say it like 4 times before she figured out I was talking to her, and she came over like, what is going on? And we have work and a platform that they're supposed to do. And she's an intelligent child, but I think she just hadn't felt like doing it. So I let her know that I did not like that. And I expect her to do it next week. And she's like, okay. But it's funny. So listen, that teacher voice doesn't always work with every child, right? There are some children who they're like, I don't care. I don't really, respect is not something that I do. So you speaking to me that way doesn't matter. Whereas there are some who they care about what you think and what you say. So if you show them disappointment, they're like, oh, no, I don't want you to be disappointed. I want to make sure that you, that you're happy with me and what I'm doing or what have you. So it's like if you build that relationship when you can, with your students, that relationship is what can motivate them to be better students and to be all that they can. And funny, so one thing I've been really working on, now they're second graders. They can do what they can do, but I really want to push them to do more. And I think the best way to do that is for me to model what it is I want. So you see, it almost makes you think about how, like, when you get, you buy a product and there's all these warnings on it and telling you not to eat this or not to put this in water. It's there because people did those things, or people didn't know that they shouldn't do things a certain way. So conversely, with my students, when I ask them to do things, I can't assume that because I think I'm being clear that they know. I think what works best for them is for them to be shown what it is I want. So one thing I do is I'm gonna give them a writing prompt. And at first I would write the writing prompt on the board, right? I think at first I tried to do like a, tell me about a time when XYZ happened or something like that. And that was beyond what they were able to do, because it's like, well, I can't construct a basic sentence, so I can't just tell you that. So I'm going in a different direction. So now I write a sentence stem. So it'll say something like, when I was 4 years old on my birthday, I blank. That might be a little bit too far, but it's something like that, right? So then they know to write that first sentence stem, fill in the blank, and then do what else I ask. But when I first did this, I just kind of wrote it. And I wrote the sentence stem, and then I wrote underneath it, I wrote details, and I wrote questions that I wanted them to answer. And they would write everything on the board. I said, okay, all right, how do we do this? We will write the things that we want them to write in black. So I got the day and the date up top in black. I write the sentence stem in black. Then I write, details, and I wrote the questions I wanted them to answer. Well, they would still sometimes write down those questions. And then I changed details to answer these questions. And then I started over explaining, like, hey, this section here, these are questions that you answer, okay? You don't write them down. But then they would write the sentence stem. This is what I would see. And then the next thing would be like, yes, on Monday. And I'm like, okay. So either I'm going to write more sentence stems, or I have to be very clear about what I want. Now, there are some kids who they don't want to do a lot of writing, so they just don't. But so Thursday, I actually wrote out a sample paragraph, okay? And I pointed it out to them, say, look, these are the questions that I ask. You see how I answered that question there? You don't see me writing that there. You see me actually answering what it is that I wrote. And I think I have to get used to being overly clear and repeating myself a lot, because sometimes they just don't get it. They're not paying attention, or it goes in and it slips out because I'm introducing a new concept to them. So, and it's not that I'm not patient. I think I just maybe overestimate some of their capabilities in some areas, and then sometimes I underestimate their capabilities in other areas, But it was funny that the sentence prompts was, if I could write a book, it would be about. So in a cute way, I introduced them to Bitcoin without, explaining anything, just so my paragraph was like, if I could write a book about anything, it would be about Bitcoin. I know a lot about the topic. As a teacher, it would be easier for me to explain it to them. I asked them how long it would be. That was one of the questions, right? For details. It would be a short book, probably less than 200 pages. And then I asked them, who would the book be to? I think I asked them something like that, So my answer was it would target young urban professionals. And I told them, don't worry if you don't understand what all of these words mean. I just need you to understand that you're answering my questions with complete sentences. And even that, I tell them, hey, a complete sentence starts with a capital letter, ends with punctuation. And I think it was like on either Tuesday or Monday of last week, I actually pointed out all of the anchor charts that I have around the room, right? So that way they would understand, okay, if I want to write a complete sentence, there is a chart up there that tells me how to write a complete sentence. I don't know if kids always look at anchor charts. I think I probably should point them out to them regularly so they get into the habit of understanding, hey, there are resources around the room to help me, with the work that I have to do. So that's what I learned in class this week. So I got my wish list there, my Amazon wish list. If you want to participate and help me out in my classroom, thank you in advance. Also, if you know people that this is their thing, this is what they like to do, feel free to share that with them. Also, you can adopt my class. If you're interested in doing that, and when you adopt my class, the reason you would do that is the wish list. Those are things that you can buy. Adopting my class, you can actually purchase specific things, or I have a class account. You could put money in there. So if I wanted to do special things that are not necessarily covered by Amazon, I could do them specifically for my class. So if you want to do that, if you want to adopt my class, then send me a message and I'll give you the information for that. So that is what I learned this week in class. Signing off, your friendly neighborhood second grade teacher.